Welcome to another episode of Ruff Talk VR, a weekly podcast with in-depth game reviews, exclusive developer interviews, and the latest MetaQuest and virtual reality news. We join our hosts, the father-son team of D. Scruffles and Stratus today, as they spend another episode breaking down and discussing the world of virtual reality.
Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. We're coming at you with another interview episode, and this one I'm real excited for.
This is going to be interesting.
Yes, I've been seeing news articles and some promotion of this game for well over a year now, and it's always caught my eye, so I'm excited we get the man himself. Today we're talking with Devin Reimer of AstroBeam. They're making a new game called Stellar Cafe, which is completely AI-powered voice actors. Which, you know, we have a lot to ask on there. I think we can have a good discussion of how that idea even came to be. But Devin, do you mind to do a little introduction of yourself before we go into, you know, your background and what this game exactly is?
Yeah, I'm Devin, the founder and CEO of AstroBeam. And yeah, we're working on a voice-powered AI game for VR.
Nice. And if anyone's watching on video, they can see a little job bot, you know, poster in the background. So yeah. Hey, if I had one of those posters, I would hang it up too. That's a cool one. But yeah, you come from a great background, so I don't want to give spoilers. Do you want to tell our listeners?
Good lineage?
Yes. A little bit about what you did in VR prior to your current position.
Yeah, definitely. I was the co-founder of Owlchemy Labs. We made Job Simulator and Vacation Simulator and many other VR games. And so kind of ran Owlchemy for a lot of years. We ended up selling it to Google. I ran it within Google for 5 years. I grew it up to 70 people, and then decided that I wanted to kind of get back to touching grass again and take on a really hard and unique challenge, which was voice as an input. And so it seemed like a good time to kind of branch out, start with something small again, and try to tackle something that at the time I started about 2.5 years ago seemed borderline insurmountable.
Well, I think like just about 2 years ago was the first time ChatGPT even came out, and just AI powered everything has come a long way.
Every search engine. It's the first thing you're going to probably see is the
AI results. Yeah. Now it's the hot topic, but 2.5 years ago, it was just starting to really break into the zeitgeist and everything. So what led you to come up with this idea of using voice as an input for a game?
Yeah, so I was thinking recently back of like my career and stuff like that, and I always realized that the things that excited me the most were input. Like even well before Owlchemy, I was working on like things with Wiimote tracking because that was like interesting to me. Worked on really early touch screens before phones had them and stuff like that. And I was always fascinated about kind of how humans interact with computers and like what we could do. And I thought games were a great mechanism to do a lot of experimentation, right? Because you don't need this, you know, super like perfect, pristine thing, right? You can do a lot of experimentation really quickly in games. And then, you know, through Owlchemy's career, we were always experimenting. We did a bunch of stuff with like leap motion finger tracking. At one point, it was like we had a game embedded in all HP laptops that had that. And it was like weird things that was like always so interesting. And then when VR ended up hitting, I was like, oh man, finally we can do some interesting things with the time controller tracking. Before that was head tracking. And then at Owlchemy, I spun off a whole team that worked on hand tracking for years and then kind of released a whole bunch of really innovative stuff there. And then I was like kind of thinking about kind of what was next. And it seemed like voice might finally be a thing that could be conquered. I have tried voice stuff for years because I was always fascinated with that. And it's super weird. Like voice is like a primary way we impact and interact with the world. And then just games just can't do it. You're just silent or you get to click a thing and you just couldn't never do that. And I realized that there might be like this inflection point with a bunch of work being done in machine learning and a bunch of stuff happening in large language models that maybe finally we could start cracking some of those things and finally bring kind of this core input into games. But at the time I kind of kicked that off, you know, over 2.5 years ago, it was like, oh, maybe this would work. I know I was talking to somebody, I was doing some early math when we were starting this, and I was like, oh, I think I could get this to work. But right now it's going to cost about $23 an hour per user. And so people are like, what? And I'm like, and they're like, you're working on this? And I'm like, no, I'm pretty confident that we are in this time that is so much faster than Moore's Law. And that by the time we have everything kind of in lockstep and we figure out a lot of creative things, that we'll be able to get this down to a point that we can just ship a game. And we got there. So.
Wow. So what's it been like seeing the progress of, both the cost of running AI, also the speed of responses?
And the actual ability AI.
Yeah, the ability to understand and respond. What's it been like since start to today?
Yeah, and so like we touch a lot of pieces of it, right? And so in our we're doing voice in LLMs, figuring out reasoning, events, actions, and then voice back out. So we're touching so many pieces of this. And I've had this spreadsheet forever where I keep track of costs and speeds and stuff like that. And then it's over time, you're like, oh, at the start, text to speech was actually quite bad. It was super slow and very low quality. And I know we had a really early build that we kind of shared with people, and they're like, it's interesting, but this is unplayably bad. Man, I was like, I know, but I think that voice is gonna. And then sure enough, all of a sudden voice got a little bit better. And then it was like, oh no, the LLMs, oh man, they can't reason to save their lives, and they're messing up all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I think that we're gonna get there. And then all of a sudden, we upgraded a new version. I was like, oh, now we finally got this piece of the puzzle. But we've always been kind of had this North Star of how do we make it feel conversational? Because you rewind not even that far, right? If you were talking to a machine, it was, I have to think about what I'm going to say. I'm going to kind of magician style, do this thing, Google Home or Alexa, right? I have to be very careful on what I'm saying. Otherwise it's going to mess up or not understand you. You have to articulate super well. And I was like, that's not how it feels comfortable to interact with things. So it's like, how can we get to a point where it feels super conversational, that the latency is low enough, your expectations that things are going to work get high enough, that all this stuff kind of clicks? Because I think that's the point where we can finally start more naturally interacting with computers with our voices.
I love how you gambled that things were going to pan out the way they panned out, and they did. So as you're developing, going, no, I have a feeling that down the road, and it's probably the only time that someone's going to be able to do what you did at that time, because things have changed since you started.
All of this, all my career is kind of I spend a lot of time trying to suss out what the world's going to be in 3 years. And so VR was the same way. We were the first studio to announce we were only making VR games, and everyone was like, what are you doing? This is there's not even a headset that exists yet. And I was like, don't worry, trust me. I've figured out enough of this that we have high confidence that this is where we're going to go. When we were working on hand tracking stuff at Owlchemy, people were like, why are you spending all this time? And I'm like, don't worry. We're going to get to a point where that's going to be the default input mechanism in VR. And I had people that were legitimately angry at me for saying that. They're like, why are you trying to ruin VR? I'm like, I'm not. That's just how people are going to boot the device. And they're just going to use their hands. And once again, nobody believed it. Even at the company at Owlchemy, a lot of people trusted me. But even then, there was a lot of people that were like, this can't work out. And so much work. And then Dimensional Double Shift is out, a full game built from the ground up with hand tracking. Stellar Cafe was there was never a thought that we would build controllers at the start. We will have controller support, but we did it after we did all the hand stuff from the beginning. So it's kind of these long-term kind of plays. And been fortunate that they've worked out thus far.
Well, your track record's spot on, right? So I want to know, without divulging too much, if you're working on something that involves this, but where are you seeing things 3 years from now?
I was like, that's a good question. There's a lot of stuff I'm super interested in where we're going with glasses. But I think we're in that spot where everybody expects that they're going to be somewhere in 2 years, that they're actually going to be in 7 years, and stuff like that. And so we're in this little bit of a zone where I'm super excited for that, but I'm like, it's still maybe a touch early. We're in an interesting spot there because we're voice powered, and glasses, that's going to be kind of the primary input before displays really get solved kind of in a meaningful way. I think that kind of interacting with games that have some driving of LLM stuff behind the scenes is going to finally start taking root, because finally we're kind of at the spot where, costs are kind of at a spot, reasoning is at a spot, kind of the things you can do. And what I'm super excited for Stellar Cafe is showing people kind of that glimpse of like what stuff can be done. And then I hope that other people look at it and go, oh, that means that I can maybe also do this, right? And that's how that whole thing like, moves forward. And that's a big thing with what we did with Job Simulator. We were sharing like demos and trying to convince people this was interesting long before even the game came out, because I was like, I can't just be the only one being like, here's a VR game. And it's like, no, I needed their ecosystem of people doing interesting stuff so we could all kind of raise each other's boats.
And look at Job Simulator on the charts. Still always like a top 10 game on every platform it's on. So
it's considered a must own when you get a headset.
The proof is in the pudding for sure. But in case any of our listeners or anything haven't seen any videos of Stellar Cafe yet, I know we've said it's, voice powered with AI. What's the concept of the game? Like, you want to tell them what exactly we're talking to here? Are we talking with other people, robots? What's the basis of the game?
So the premise is that you as a human have shown up at this space station cafe called Stellar Cafe, and it's full of robots that are patrons. And the barista has a problem that he has this big patch day event that he wants to throw in a few days, but none of the robots have wanted to RSVP. They're all RSVP'd maybe because that's kind of the polite thing to do. But they all have kind of these unique challenges that are kind of stopping them from going to this event. And so you can kind of pop around inside Stellar Cafe and talk to these robots and try to help them with their problems that hopefully maybe allow them to go to the patch day party that James the barista is holding. And so it's very, very unique. I keep asking people what genre the game is. Almost everybody gives me a different answer, which means to me that I have kind of like cracked that this is kind of something new. I know a Job Simulator, when I was showing people, it was the same thing. No one at the time was like, I don't know what this is. Even Oculus made a thing at the start in their store that they made a new genre called Job Simulator and then put Job Simulator in it. Now looking back, it's like, well, obviously I know what all this is, but like at the time I was like, what is this thing, right? And I feel like we're kind of like stepping into that same thing now, where this is unique genre where I'm kind of playing a game through conversation.
I'm looking at a bigger picture of the ability to, and I'm all for AI injection into games. But if they can have like a purpose and a personality per se, come on, man.
Mm-hmm. And are we able to say that we've played this?
That was
we did the demo.
I just couldn't figure out a way to.
We had a great time checking out the demo of it. There's like 3 or 4 different
I think
bots
there was 4
to talk to, and I think how we each came to convincing them were incredibly different.
Yeah.
So a game like this, it's
because we didn't see each other.
No,
I didn't know what you said, and you didn't know what I said.
Mm-hmm.
Only Devin knows what we said.
So it's really a game that has, if I'm not mistaken, endless possibilities to solve the same problem, the same mission, the same challenge, whatever.
Yeah, it's very unique, and like the robots all have these unique challenges that we've given them, right? So everybody kind of goes through and they kind of hit these challenges and like kind of how we're going to kind of like get through them and stuff like that. But the means in between is so variable. And so some games try to do that, like, oh, we're going to like have a spot and we're going to like go to infinite forever. But we kind of like, no, we have these like this endpoint of like what your goal is and where your start is. And then what's in between just is like all over the place and very different. And for me, like I get to watch so many people play the game and it's just an absolute joy. Like sometimes like when you're a game developer watching people, like, yeah, I kind of see the same stuff over and over again. It's like, nope, this is just pure joy. I get to see different stuff all the time.
I thought it worked really well. I was awkward for a couple of minutes, as I think anyone is talking to machinery. But then I was getting a little more loose by the end. By the last person, I
was way too comfortable by the end.
Yeah.
I was sitting there talking with the bartender.
I was sipping my drink. I was having a good time.
There was even, I remember the bartender gave me, I think it was oat milk in my latte.
Yeah,
and I was like,
good one that you did that.
And I was like, no, make me the next one with whole milk. And on the latte, it said the ingredients on the cup. And when he gave me the next latte, it said whole milk on it as well too. I was blown away that it had a visual change to the game as well too. Are there ever things like that even catch you off guard that you're like, oh, I didn't even know that would happen?
Oh yeah, like all the time. Is like, people talk in such interesting ways. So like one of the things with like VR was like we built a lot of VR physics sandboxes and people would always like do different things. Like, the first time I saw somebody stick their head in a photocopier and I was like, oh man, we need to do something for that, right? And so there was like such big space, but this is so much wider. Like the way that people think, they want to communicate, their life experience, kind of all of that stuff kind of goes together. And it's just constant. Like we within the game, like one of the ways that you kind of move around is you just like talk to your advisor assistant and you just explain where you want to go. But that is like super varied between people. Like some people are like, oh, I'm gonna like try to figure out everyone's name and I'll say their name. Some people are like, oh, the orange robot or the one with the spike on their head or whatever. Some people are like, oh, over there. Some people are like, oh, I want to sit near a window. And they just like explain all these things. And that for me is hilarious because like they'll like go on these things. I had one person explain their feelings on where they wanted to go for like a long time. And I was like, oh, I don't know what's gonna happen. And I was like, he's like, oh, cool, right? And it's like, wow, but that's like kind of the power of all this is like we spent so much time providing kind of the LLMs and everything, all this context that kind of binds that we don't need to know everything that people say. We just need to provide all the right amount of context so it can make kind of the best decision.
And I'm going to assume constantly, or the ability to constantly update or upgrade it. Is that how that works?
Yeah, like a lot of people, like when they're building stuff and a lot of the examples that kind of exist of like this stuff that's more like a chat, right? Where it's like, oh, we made a one prompt and that's the personality and that's it. And in games where you actually have like a world around you, that falls apart really quickly. And so we have these prompts are highly dynamic. They're constant, like every few seconds changing, right? Because the characters' goals are changing, the environment changing. Like if you pick up something, we need to make sure that is also part of the prompt, right? What you've done, what you've done in the past. Even things like there's a TV, like that is updating and it's like, oh, it needs to know what's on TV at that moment. So we're just like constantly trying to explain things like that. And it's like so much work. Like we had like, every once in a while we'll have scenarios where it's like, well, why did it think that? And then we'll like go to this giant prompt and we're like, oh yeah, I get it. We kind of explained what the environment looked like slightly wrong. And it got like the wrong impression of what's going on. And so, yeah, it's a tremendous amount of work, way more than I expected. But like the end result is like people just talk about stuff and it's like, oh yeah, I get it. Like I can build the context based on what's going on.
I know there was one that said some pretty far. I think about dreams and stuff. Yes.
Start talking
I don't
about
want to do
life with it.
spoilers. Yeah, I don't want to give ultimate spoilers.
Oh, I know exactly which bot it was too.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, we're going deep. But given the ability for you to go deep as well if you want.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's like it's great because users can kind of like just decide, right? Like some users like they're like, oh, like I'm super interested to talk about that and they're not over here and that's fine. Like it'll just kind of move through. I've had people on the podcast like get way out there on things they were talking about. And then like there's a character, Cindy, you can do a podcast with her as like the first human on the podcast. And afterwards someone was like, I figured out what I thought the definition of love is with a robot. Like not like with a robot, like the definition of love between anybody. And they're like, I don't know how I got there, but like is wild, right? And it's like, yeah, it's like kind of just like working people through kind of different things that they want to think about or talk about.
Again, I won't do spoilers with that particular conversation, but I
think that was the one that you went to the dreams with.
Yeah, there was some I don't know, man. It's like for that moment in time, you have to question how much of this was computer and how much of this was person to come up with like, did you feel this? Or it was like bringing out the answers from me. I was impressed. Again, I went into it thinking one thing and I'm like, oh, so, more or less will probably be like a tech flex. And I wasn't expecting, dude, there was one of them. I was like, bring me to the next person. And Buff brought me right. It didn't bring me to someone I'd been to. It brought me to the next person.
I remember watching that and I was like,
there.
when you said that, I was like, wait a second, have I heard someone do that before? And it was like, boop, 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 boop. And I was like, yeah, right. Just had enough context and kind of figure it out.
Right on the money. Yeah, no, I would, dude. It was, I think we both came away with it.
Yeah, very impressed. We're like, we got to get Devin on here ASAP. And I mean, I don't know if you're able to say like, what's the estimated release time for this game? Like, are people still breaking it when you demoed to it, or is it pretty functional at this point? Because we had no issues.
Yeah, it's really, really quite functional. Yeah, we haven't announced a date yet, but we're launching this year and there's not a lot of days left in this year. So,
okay.
And how long would you say the experience is start to finish? Because that's person to person, because I spent about 10 minutes just talking with James, the bartender, before I even, went about the different robots. But yeah, how long would you say this experience is?
My guess right now is probably about 2.5 to 3.5 hours. But my goodness, there's like multiple days, like few days that you kind of step through. And I've had people sit down and just like for almost an hour when doing one thing. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like do whatever kind of like you find valuable or you find interesting or fun or whatever. And so it is going to be quite varied between user, I think.
I could see total reason to replay this as well, too. You go through it and you go, well,
unless you have everything exactly the same.
mm-hmm.
I mean, there could be variables, right?
Oh, I'd be going in there trying to really push the boundaries, say, how much different can I make this play out just off of my prompts and my answers and stuff? Go in there, be the good guy. Go in there, just be a complete, jackass to all of them. A lot of potential with this. And I think it's going to inspire other people when they actually see the result.
I see some things for the future, even like, and I'm spitballing bullshit, but like, remember, choose your own adventure type situations.
Oh my God, yeah.
But to have an ability where an AI could not only be able to answer these specific but generate that specific scene based on what you chose.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, man, to me, it's just endless. And
yep.
I like it. I know AI is touchy to some folks, but
one of the things that my primary goals here is to show people some interesting things that couldn't be done any other way. Like what you played, like there's no way that could ever work and up until now in any other way. And I think that's like a thing that's missing is a lot of people are like, oh yeah, we can make worse versions of things that already exist. And it's like, that's not very appealing. But like, let's kind of like try to figure out what some interesting use cases that do have value for people.
And there's realistically no way that you could write all the lines for somebody to voice record
with
for
every
like
single variable.
Yeah, it's
no.
I know sometimes people get a little bit like, oh, you're replacing voice actors with a game like Arc Raiders had that. People kind of freaked out that there was AI voice actors, but this is a different case because it's not like you're using AI to read a specific line that's predetermined. You really need the AI to be able to come up with an answer for every possible input and prompt given to it.
Yeah, it's so much so like early on, I was like, oh, we could probably figure out what the first few interactions are going to be and cache them. And I was like, oh yeah, at least that will like save some costs and stuff like that. And then when rubber met the road, I was like, no, generally after the first turn, like we're off to a different location, even that quickly. And it's like, oh, this is kind of the way it needs to be. And then even on the writing side, like some people have talked to me like, oh, like you're kind of replacing writing and like this is like the easier path. And it's like, oh my goodness, the volume of writing that we need to do to pull this off is astronomical. And every little bit matters in like how you're building the world. And so it's understandable. And we're constantly working on trying to kind of like improve them and fix things there. So even then, like we don't write lines into the prompt, right? It's like, no, it's like, what's the explanation of the character and their intentions and like all of these things. So it's a very unique animal that just couldn't be done any other way.
I like the misconception of that because the result is so fine-tuned that you must not have done any writing for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
I would love to see the process of what goes on to create a new personality, like a new bot, and they're like Cindy or any of them. Like, geez, how long does it take to come up with a new character that's able to respond in a game like this?
It's super hard. It's super like variable on like what we want the goals. Like we've had some robots we kind of like click together in like a week and we're like, yeah, this feels good. And then we'll like refine it. And then we have like robots like, oh yeah, this is many, many months of like writing stuff. Cause like, oh, their goals are a little bit different than this character's goals. And that kind of pushes them in a different direction. And then like different ones have different problems and things you kind of want to solve and stuff like that. And it's so much like fine tuning and also figuring out what people like to interact with. Like an earlier version of Ted, which is like one of the more punk robots that is not happy with his sprocket job. So many people, like half the people we demoed to were like, this character is awful. Please don't include it in the final game. And we're like, oh, I don't know. And it was like the personality was just like too brash, right? And it was like that. And so we spent so much time refining that. And then we went back through and re-demoed people, and they're like, some people like, that's my favorite character. And it's like, yeah. So it's like, I don't know. It's definitely something that I haven't been able to be like, oh, I kind of can estimate accurately. It's a trip with every character.
I definitely had a little bit too much fun with Ted, enabling him down at the bad side.
I felt because of time constraint, it was in my best interest not to like get too comfortable and let's blow a battery. I think we had a good amount of time, but certainly wasn't going to spend an hour making Devin watch me answer questions. And then, in fairness, just so I muted myself by accident on my phone when I was playing. And there was a couple of points I was like, oh man, I really need Devin's help right now. But I was like, oh yeah, he can't really answer me because I'm not even really talking to him.
And like
it was right afterwards. You're like, you're muted. I'm like, shit.
Yeah, one of the things that is interesting there is people sometimes like, oh, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do or I'm stuck. And they're used to in games, like when you don't know, there's little that you can do about it, right? You can kind of like futz around. And then people start realizing they can just like talk, right? Like one of the things like, early on, we have this keyword for like visor, bring up your assistant that allows you to kind of move around, do this stuff. And people would forget the name of it. Because obviously, like if you encounter that, in the tutorial and then you talk to the bartender for 30 minutes, like you might forget, right? And so we spend all this time trying to figure out like, how do we read tutorials? And we're like, wait a second, we have the best tutorial system possible. And so the characters are just aware of things. So like if you're like sitting at the bartender, you're like, oh, I want to move over to the table. And then you're like, even like ruminate, like people like kind of talk out loud. James will be like, well, you just talk to Visor. And they're like, oh yeah, of course. Right. And it's like, just people kind of like takes them a little bit to be like, I can just like literally ask the question that I'm currently thinking.
That 100% happened to me. I was talking to, I think it was the bartender. And then I was like, oh, I forgot what I was supposed to be doing.
Happened to me too.
I know. I was like, what am I supposed to be doing? And then it was you need to go talk to. I'm like, okay, I got you. But yeah, I could see getting carried away. And dude, the interactions I had were only as legit as my interactions with them because I didn't know how to talk to her. I'm like, hey, I'm used to talking to, smartphones and shit like that. But you can have a flow conversation. Again, by the end, it was,
you get surprisingly comfortable, surprisingly fast.
I was sitting down, I was sipping my thing, listening, and I was comfortable. So it's going to be interesting to like see where you'd be after like the hour and a half mark of.
Well, think of it, when people start doing videos on this and stuff, no two people's playthrough is going to be the same.
Shouldn't be,
you know.
And then
mathematically is maybe, but
it's also a bit of a ricochet too, right? Like if you want to be silly in a certain way, it's going to be silly back in a certain way, right? And so like that's like. It's going to be super compelling, and I'm super excited to see all these people like put up videos and stuff with stuff they're doing.
You got something unique here for sure.
Yeah, dude. I went into it thinking one thing and came out like going, damn, dude, we got to talk to this guy.
And I know you probably can't give exact numbers, but it's probably a lot cheaper running the prompts than it was, at the $20+ per prompt per hour.
Yep. we can now like not charge a $30 a day subscription or something silly. We can actually just have a paid game that people are playing. And so it's still a unique challenge. We're kind of thinking about game design, but it's now at the point that it makes sense and we'll work to ship.
Are you able to say what the game's going to cost, or that's all going to come soon?
Yeah, it's going to come out soon.
Okay.
Less than 50.
I won't put him on record with that, No, hopefully, but
gonna break records with the most.
People I think will be quite happy.
I'm excited to see the reception to this, and
I kind of want it in the wild. I want to see what people are going to do with it. I want to sit down and take a good hack at seeing what I can get away with and not.
Again, I really want to push the boundaries here. I want to have another talk.
Let's see if I can get one angry. I don't know.
Ooh, that's actually, I can push it, because we talked to about like I said, about 4 bots. Yeah. What's the total amount of bots in there that you're going to be encountering?
10 bots.
Ooh, and you can go back to anyone you want as well.
Yeah, and like the James, because it's like goes through multiple day cycles, right? And so you'll come back to James multiple days, and James also has like a built-in like longer term memory that like will understand things that have happened before and stuff.
So every conversation I have with James, theoretically, he'll remember.
Yeah.
Okay. Like not so. Yeah, of course.
And this is going to be.
It's very difficult, but yeah, a lot. But like, that's I think the great thing about like really interesting and novel technology is when it gets to the point that it's just like, yeah, it's magic. It just it works, right? You don't have to think too hard about it anymore.
I'm excited to see this out in the wild, and it's going to be single player, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could see somebody
Way too much. Oh yeah.
Somebody going in there really messing with your prompts as you go. Like, hey man, just can I finish my sentence?
Oh, I just kind of know how far you can push it.
I know. I can't wait to see this in the wild. And do you have plans for I know I'm getting way too ahead of myself. Things like DLC and expansions and stuff like that, or does it really have to see how the base game does?
Yeah, like one of the things I always do with like every game is like I try not to get too far ahead of myself, and I like to see how people interact with things. Like Job Simulator was like we had no plan for DLC. We did ship some awesome DLC for it, but like I wanted to see what people were doing so then I could make a really good informed decision. And so yeah, we're interested, and like we've spent so much time building all of this server side infrastructure to handle this really low latency, really high quality voice in, voice out LLM powered stuff. And like this is step one in many things that we are planning on building using this. And I'm super excited to get it out because I really want to see kind of how people engage with it.
That's actually a good point too, because if you were to make another game after this technology is already there. You could easily implement this into
you already know
the future.
Scheming something. There's no way, man.
Oh man.
I see the way the brain's working and the ability to like think 3 years ahead of time, but also be able to pivot to the current time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we're super excited. Like there's so many generally when you're working on a new input scheme, you become very locked to a particular platform until it's adopted elsewhere. Sometimes it's just for that platform. But like voice, like almost every platform has a microphone. Like this is a weird thing where it's like it's a new input, but it's accessible everywhere. And so I'm super excited for other opportunities kind of getting more broad across multiple platforms.
And how big is the team working on this game?
We're very small. We're 6.
6 people. Wow.
Yeah.
Former team is 70 to 6.
Yeah.
It's definitely, an adjustment, but I'm really fortunate. Like I was an engineer and built a lot of games even by myself. And so, I've got a lot of very, very talented people across a lot of different skill sets. And it's very neat because like what we're doing is like, I can't look at anything else. And so I kind of needed a really good team of generalists that were able to be like, we're tackling a brand new problem no human has decided to tackle yet. And so I'm super, super impressed with what the team has done.
I like that you've taken no easy route your career. It's like pumping out things that either nobody's done, people you said couldn't be done, or fucking angry at you for even wanting to do.
We had one of the biggest, most successful VR game studios, and you started a new save game, started all over fresh. So that's huge props there. That's not easy. It's like the new game plus mode.
But choosing to take the hardest possible path, that's intense. Not many people are wired that way. Usually people it would work good and it's easy and we can make some money and, no, instead it's going to be, what nobody's done. And I'll gamble that it'll be affordable by the time I'm, dude, and it's crazy awesome.
How many iterations of the story did you go through before you settled on like, this is what we want the storyline to be? I have a feeling that you had the gameplay concept before you had like the plot and storyline and all of that, or?
No, all of this has been so tough. One of the things I joke with the team about is like when we were starting in VR, and particularly like some of the early controller stuff, I couldn't really that accurately tell somebody when they pitched me an idea, like if it was going to be good or not. Like it took many years of like working on that before I could be like, oh no, that's a horrible idea. We shouldn't do that. Or, oh, that might be interesting. This was so much harder. Like the first like year and a half were brutal. Cause like everything I was like, that's perfect. And then we tried and I'm like, that's a disaster. And then like other people were like, oh, that. And I'm like, oh, that's definitely not going to work. And then one of my engineers I was like, oh, it's definitely not going to work. You should try it because I can't guess yet. And then it was like within an afternoon, he's like, yeah, it works. And it just is great. And we can just use it. And it's like, this is really, really hard. And so from a game design perspective, you have to rethink everything. Everything that you would normally do and how you would build a game becomes quite different when you have this like infinite in, but also kind of infinite out, borderline infinite back out, right? How do you build a game structure that is going to work within that without devolving into just nothingness or something that just can't function? And so, it was, we did so many different experiments. Stellar Cafe itself was very early in like the prototype, and then we had other stuff. And then we just kept like no, this seems to be kept kind of going back to this. This seems quite interesting, and we want to spend time here and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it's been an interesting one.
How would you say the overall feedback from people like that you've witnessed? Because I'm sure you've seen people just like we did, kind of going a little rough and then start to loosen up as time goes on. And has it been mainly positive? I mean, I know we were both pretty.
It has been overwhelmingly positive, like shockingly positive. Like I didn't expect this because it's like so new, and like also like you're building a game that's super new and novel. It's clearly not going to be for everyone. Like you should never build a game that's for everyone because then it's for no one, right? And so, but my experience has been quite interesting. Like I've had people come in like, you can tell they are expecting to not like this. And like, they're just kind of doing it to go through the motions. So then they can say, oh yeah, this is clearly not a thing. And then you can watch like that click, like when they're like, oh, this is nothing. Like you mentioned, like, it's like different. Like it's hard. Like this is early VR again, right? Where I was trying to like talk about what VR was to all these people that haven't. And I sounded kind of crazy. And I'm like, oh yeah. And you feel present and you can like, and they're like, what are you talking about? It's like, it's all right. I'll just show you at some point and then it'll make sense. Right. And we had to go through that whole period. I'm super in that again. Where like no one's understands. And I had somebody at a big company that will not be named. I explained like how the game worked and everything to them. And they're like, oh, okay. And then I gave them a demo. And after the demo, they were like blown away. And they were like, you did such a horrible job explaining what this game is. And I'm like, yes. But like, also, I don't know of a better way yet other than just like getting people to kind of experience this for themselves.
There is a sense of intuitiveness to it, even with very minimal, like, you have to use your voice, right? The hands work. I mean, you can figure it out that way. It becomes like I said, by the end, you're like a lot more loose to the whole function, only because it's a new experience. You've never done it before.
And in fairness to you, how do you describe something that there's nothing to compare it to? It's like trying to say when somebody goes, what's that taste like? And you're like, I mean, it tastes like that, It's like, it's a food you've never had
tastes
before.
Like chicken.
Yeah. So it's not really the easiest to describe.
It's a huge struggle. And like, it's just going to kind of require, at the heart of it, a lot of people experiencing it and then just telling other people, you just have to try it, right? Like this is a thing that is quite different, which is kind of feels a little bit similar to the early days of VR.
Yeah. Cutting edge for sure.
Yeah. Again, I have nothing to compare it to in modern time.
I think the only thing I could think of for a genre name would be like social simulation would be the closest thing I could think of for it. Because it's a social sim, right? Like,
I don't even know. I'm envisioning when people are doing like fucking murder mystery theater type things.
Mm-hmm.
You could do it with these type of where like you have to ask the questions to solve the case.
So
and
much
these things
potential.
have the ability to like fabricate or fuck, dude.
So much.
It's exciting.
Here.
You're laying a lot of foundation for, I think, some people to go, didn't know you could really do it like that.
And honestly, 2.5 years, that's pretty, like, that's standard game development time, let alone for when it's something
cutting edge.
Yeah. So huge props there.
That's moving in conjunction with the technology as well.
Oh, you must just be so excited at this point for it to be out.
I'm so excited. Like we were talking about like the challenges and stuff. Like my wife gets to experience this and experience this many times in my career. And, about 8 months ago, I was like, why did I decide to do this? Like, I don't know if this can work. And she's like, no, it works out. And I'm like, it's easy for you to say. And then it was about, 4-ish months ago that I was like, okay, we got it now. And so, but it always feels like when you're right on the edge of like all these different factors that could like blow it up, particularly when we're just like touching so many new pieces of technology all at once.
So I am curious what for store reasons, like what do you categorize it as? Is it really social? I mean, kind of.
Simulation.
It's not like co-op social simulation, but to what?
Yeah. Have you decided what genres you're going to throw it in on the store yet, or that's still open conversation?
There's some tentative ones like some of the stuff is kind of sandboxy, but people think of sandbox as like physics and stuff like that. But it's kind of like verbal sandbox,
Vocal
right? Where it's like,
sandbox.
it's like weird, right? And so I don't know. We'll put a few things like narrative. A lot of people kind of describe this. Oh, it's kind of like story driven, but to a lot of people, it's like, well, it's not, because it's not like all and it's like, well, yeah, but it still can be very story. There's a lot of story in the game. My goodness, most story that people will never even find out, but is very important for like grounding of our characters and stuff like that. And so, yeah, we will find out what people think this is. People call it like, I have a bunch of people call it point and click adventure, and I'm like, there's no pointing, there's no clicking, but for some reason in their head that seems to be what it aligns to. It's so fascinating to hear kind of all people's kind of like groundings to things that they've experienced.
I did go to like the choose your own adventure type genre thing, but it's not, because
It's linear story till well, not
correct.
it's not
it
even
was usually
linear.
like two choices, and then
Yeah.
But I get why people gravitate to that. But point and click, no concept of that. It's not. It's not like it's giving you like A, B, C, D.
I think a lot of people, because they spend a lot of like in point and click, they're like trying to like understand the world and then trying to like engage with the world and stuff like that, and kind of like, I don't know, but it's very, very different and stuff. But I'm excited to get it out and get more games like working around this topic, because then we can kind of like start cementing some of these things, and then also marketing is gonna be way easier, where they can just be like, say the thing that everyone understands already.
Well, there's so much that impressed me about this experience. I mean, the response time was super fast. There wasn't
that needs to be noted. It wasn't a thinking icon.
Yep, 30 seconds go by. No, it was pretty like a natural conversation. So that was hugely impressive. And again, I can't say it enough. That moment that my words were able to change what was actually written on the cup of the drink handed to me was like,
that's why, dude, I don't know how far you can actually push.
That's what I keep going back to is, can I break this almost? Like, are
there things that we can do that people are just never going to think to do that only that can be done?
I mean, the thing is that there's going to be so many things done that I will never know. Right. That's like how big kind of that space is and stuff like that. And yeah, like a lot of beta testers do a lot of beta testing. They'll like send me things that I'm like, whoa, like I didn't know that would, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense given kind of what we've built.
And will the game always have the same ending, or are you going to be able to have multiple different endings depending on the way that you prompt things?
We're not going to quite spoil the way the game is going to wrap up quite yet.
Okay.
But I'm excited for people to kind of see kind of how things come to conclusion.
That's enough for me to be excited.
I know what my task is, so I just see what the reward might be.
Like I said, many reasons to replay through this one too, just to see all those different possibilities, the way it goes.
It's opening up Pandora's box of possibilities when people actually get their hands on it and something clicks in somebody's head to go, I had no idea we were at this level. And it might be something someone wants to put into their, how do we do it? Well, got a professional over there you can call who's writing the rule book for it. So,
and will this just be on the Quest or PC VR, PlayStation VR 2? What's the plans for that?
Yeah, we're launching first on Meta Quest, but nothing else to announce at this time. But as people know my track record, I do love platforms and lots of platforms. So.
Well, I could even see this working on a phone, even, like you said, so many different devices have an input.
As long as it can pick up, right?
Yeah. Say, move me over there. So much potential with this one. So very impressed, Devin. I think that this is going to be, people are going to enjoy it a lot more than they think. Just
like
off of
it or love
hearing
it, you should be paying attention to it. There's going to be a lot to be said about it. I think a lot to learn from it. And it's a really strong showing of what current capabilities we can get. Keeping in mind, this was started development years ago, but where we're at today, it's just like, it's a close.
Right now is the worst that AI is ever going to be. Yeah. Like, it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better from here. So I'd love to have you back on after launch as well too.
Wild,
see some creators' videos, see the way that everyone plays through it, see the reception and everything like that. But you've definitely done something special. It's very hard to describe, and I'm excited to hear people's response once it's out in the wild. But while we have them, did you have anything else you wanted to ask Devin?
No, I mean, I can't wait to personally sit down with it one-on-one. Because again, there's a whole bunch of things that have unlocked in my head that I want to see. see if I can do or not do.
I want to see those other 6 bots as well.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, yeah. Again, there's more to do, but I won't be so reserved.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be a little more loose and comfortable on round 2 here. So no, I think you're onto something huge, and knowing your background and the way you're kind of wired is not surprising me at all. But I'm already selfishly like, oh, I can't wait to see what Devin's doing 2 years from now.
Yeah,
because it's guaranteed something's nobody's doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like.
And huge props for taking the gamble with VR originally, hand tracking, and now AI powered. I almost want to say AI powered characters, but it's really voice powered game. That's really the driving force for it. So huge props, Devin. Like I said, I think you've got something special here. Can't wait to hear people's reception. And I guess, is there anything else you wanted to touch on? Anything else you wanted to say that maybe we didn't get to, or just a message for the listeners, anything like that?
No, I'm so excited that very, very soon people are going to be able to play this game and get all kind of that feedback, and then kind of build out what's going to be next.
Ooh, if this is out before Christmas, this is going to be a great one to throw family in and stuff like that. So
we'll definitely be talking about it.
Yeah, like I said, after launch, if you would love to have you back on, and we can talk a little bit more about stuff now that it's in the wild. But I'm excited. So huge props. If anybody hasn't yet, go follow Stellar Cafe on socials. You guys have AstroBeam socials, Stellar Cafe socials. What's the
AstroBeam socials? Yep. And go on to astrobeam.com and find all of our stuff.
Nice. And do you have a publicly available Discord or anything like that people can join for the latest?
Not at this time.
Just for the private beta testers for now, just kidding. No, but stay tuned for this one. I think that there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming. Definitely go follow them on social so you can hear when it's coming out, when that's announced. And Devin, great work. Glad to have you on. And I'm I can't say enough. I'm excited for the reception of this one.
Thanks so much. So
listeners, go follow them on socials, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and stay tuned really for the future of gaming. Like the next big input is coming our way. So I'm excited.
Bigger.
All right. Ciao, ciao.